David, can you give a quick introduction about yourself, your role at Guidance, and Guidance also?
Sure. Hi, my name is David Rodriguez. As you mentioned, I'm a senior project and program manager. I am in charge of implementation projects at Guidance. We do B2B, B2C e-commerce solutions. I'm also responsible for maintaining relationships, driving projects forward, and maintaining ongoing programs for e-commerce.
David, can you give a background about the company and some of the problems Guidance is solving for your customers?
We manage e-commerce websites ranging from Magento to Optimizely and several different other platforms as well. We strive to provide our customers the best solutions for their business needs. So we understand what their reporting needs, their tracking needs, their key conversion metrics, and we make informed decisions based on that to make recommendations for improvements to their store as well as enhancements.
Within the context of analytics, David, if you can touch upon why is Google Analytics important and what are some of the key problems that your customers were facing with Google Analytics?
Sure. So Google Analytics is one of the key pieces of functionality that our customer used for measuring and tracking how successful their website was and is. This is how they ensure that their investments are going to good use. One of the issues that our customers faced is just complexity in their SKU system. And as a result, the SKUs, the way they were set up, the customer wasn't receiving accurate tracking for their metrics. An example would be they had several different t-shirts. The different t-shirts had different SKUs, and those were being tracked separately instead of one t-shirt with different sizes. It caused uncertainty about, how the products were actually performing, how the product was being received by the customers, and it made it difficult for them to make information-based decisions on data without having that data.
Why did you need the support of the instrumentation team at Saras to solve these problems, David? Can you touch upon that?
Engaged the team to support us because there was a very complex setup for the different SKUs that the client had, as well as very intricate store setup. They had multiple stores that they all wanted rolled up into single reports. We also needed to get very granular. So the customer's needs were, they wanted to see how all products were performing on all stores. And then they also wanted to see at the store level how things were performing. So they needed very granular reporting and very macro large reporting from both single stores, multiple stores, and the ability to have very flexible reporting functionality. Saras was able to propose some customizations, and we worked with them closely to implement those customizations to the store. And with the help of the client, we were able to make sure that those customizations gave the client the reports they needed so that they can present that information to their stakeholders, as well as make decisions based on accurate data.
What was Saras's role and what was Guidance's role into deploying the overall solution, David?
Yeah, so Saras's role, their primary role was to help lead and make recommendations based on the client's needs from the business perspective. Guidance's role was to work on the technical implementation. Saras kind of led the direction of ways to set up the reporting and customizations to make. So we worked very closely together, and we both worked as a team with the client just to make sure that the business needs were being met and that the solutions being recommended and implemented were adequate enough to meet their business needs. Saras also kind of helped with training the client on how to generate some of the reports, made recommendations on different areas to track in order to get better representation of certain metrics that the client had. And then lastly, just set up various different KPIs and reports based on the client's needs and kind of what they were communicating to us. So we worked closely as kind of a partnership The client at the end was very happy and satisfied with what we delivered to them. And they felt like, we brought the right experts on to make sure that this was a successful project.
Can you touch upon like the overall experience working with our team on the implementation side, and were there any unexpected challenges that we faced? Uh, how did we go about resolving them?
So Saras worked closely with the guidance team, making recommendations. We had client-facing calls, and then we would meet internally just to make sure that the recommendations aligned well with the technical solution, that there was no technical challenges that we foresaw. They were always very open to feedback, as well as able to come up with alternatives if we felt like a certain solution wouldn't work. They also were very hands-on with checking and testing, making sure that the implementation of the customizations needed were, accurately tracking, were as expected. And they also worked closely with us to present this to the client, to provide, kind of demos, to present to them the different reporting capabilities, so that they could actually see it and feel like, yes, this is what we need. We collaborated very closely, just because on our side, we're the system integrator, and Saras was the expert in the analytics piece. The client themselves, they understood the business need. They understood kind of what they wanted to get to. However, they were unsure about how to get there, the appropriate KPIs, the different metrics that they should be tracking, ways to associate certain tracking with those metrics. Saras was very well versed in that. They were able to provide recommendations, had lots of experience, and cited various different examples of good ways to implement and track these different KPIs. And, based on kind of how closely we coordinated, we were all included in kind of sync ups with the client, that Saras and guidance. Saras took on the recommendations, kind of the lead on how we should implement it, as well as solutions. Guidance supported with technical expertise, as well as supported by implementing those different customizations to support the reporting necessary. So I would say, we worked very closely together. It was a fantastic pair up. The client didn't feel like it was two separate teams because we were so close in communication.
Typically, because we are based in India and are an outsourced team, there would generally be concerns around the around time zone, around the overall implementation quality. Did you experience any of those issues working with us? Can you touch upon that if there were
So
any?
I did work closely with the SARS team. Initially, we have our client that we worked on in the Eastern time zone in the US. The guidance team is based in the West Coast, so there was a big time difference there. Initially, we had a little bit of trouble kind of coordinating meetings. However, after mentioning it to the SARS team, we kind of came up with a middle ground. And moving forward, it stopped being an issue. It was, as long as we planned it far enough in advance, as long as we had, the information passed along to the team with adequate timing, SARS was able to accommodate. They were fantastic about making sure they were consistently on the calls, on time, well prepared. I would say it was a minor kind of communication piece up front, but once we talked about it and got that all clarified, the SARS team was fantastic in making sure that they were able to accommodate any of the client's needs in terms of meetings.
What are some of the key improvements that your customers saw after we rolled out the solution, David?
Well, some of the key improvements that they saw was accurate data reporting based on their different SKUs and their different needs. They started to actually see data that was more relevant without having to manually make adjustments. So prior, they had to export data from analytics and manipulate the data to kind of merge it all together. Once we finished the implementation, they had different reports that could easily be exported. They knew and felt comfortable that the data was accurate and correct. And then they also felt much more informed about how these different KPIs should be tracked, why they're associated with certain metrics, and just in general, the client felt much more comfortable with the implementation as well as the data coming out of analytics.
Guidance is a development agency, right? And Saras is an analytics consulting agency, right? Do you see a natural partnership between both of us? And like one, we've obviously engaged with one client. How do you see the roadmap evolving, especially with GA4 coming in and other new advancements happening in the e-commerce?
So I would say that what I've been seeing in the e-commerce space is the big transition over to GA4, and kind of a rush to get it transitioned from the current Universal to GA4. Lots of our customers are not really sure on what to make of it. Based on the implementations that I've done to migrate to GA4, we've noticed that there is a lot less functionality, a lot less reporting capability out of the box.
Yeah.
I would imagine that in the future, they will eventually roll this information out. However, with the sunset of a Universal, our clients are going to be kind of feeling like they don't have the visibility they once had to make informed decisions and to see how their e-commerce store is performing. I believe in the future they will eventually get there. However, there's no roadmap in terms of timing and no hard dates. My expectation is that we would potentially lean on a team like Saras to help us implement customizations to get those clients the reporting needs as well as the metrics in between while we, patiently wait for Google. I don't know that it'll be adequate for our customers to lose that visibility during that time.
Finally, would you recommend Saras, and what would be the main reason you would recommend us if yes?
Yeah, I definitely would. Number one, I would say the results that my client got, they were very satisfied, very happy with kind of the outcome, the expertise. They were very knowledgeable, came up with various recommendations, were open to feedback from the technical team as well as the client team. They're very flexible as well, as we kind of just touched on. The time zones were different. However, they were able to accommodate late night meetings for them, and they were very professional about it. They were always very communicative about, if there was any issues with a certain functionality or if they had any concerns about the timing of the meeting, they would communicate it ahead of time. But overall, everything went very smooth. The client didn't feel like there was any concerns with the timing or concerns with kind of the quality. In general, I would say everything came out very, very good, and the client was very pleased with it. So I would definitely recommend Saras.